Children, today I am going to teach you our new topic, that is the cell. So let's start the beautiful science behind the structure and function of cell. As you all know, there is an immense variety of things on the earth. These things constitute both living things and non-living things. Everything around us is made up of some basic units, or we can say building blocks. Our body is also made up of basic units. So all living organisms are made up of some building blocks, or we can say basic units, and these basic units are known as cell. As you can see on the board also, the second thing is that the cell are capable of carrying out all type of life processes, or we can say in simple words, various chemical reaction required to carry out life processes like digestion, respiration take place in cell. So the cell may be defined as cell is the smallest structural, functional and biological unit of all living organisms. Okay, so cell is the smallest unit of life. Now, some more terms are associated with this topic, that is cell biology. The branch of science which deals with the cell structure and function is known as cell biology. Okay, and the cell biology is also known as cellular biology and cytology. Cyto means cell and logy means study. Okay, so the study of cell is called cell biology, cellular biology or cytology. We have billions of cells in our body. Most cells are small to be seen with the naked eyes. They can be seen with the help of microscope. Now we will discuss discovery of cells. So the question arises, who first identified cells and when? Yes, cells were first discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. Okay, cells were discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. For this, he observed a piece of cork under his microscope. Now the question arises, what is cork? What is cork? A cork is a light brown color substance obtained from the outer layer of the bark of the trees. Okay, so what is cork? A cork is a light brown substance obtained from the outer layer of the bark of the trees. Now the question arises, what he observed? He observed that the cork was made up of many small chambers that he named cells or cellulae. Okay, and he gave information about cells in his book, and the name of the book is Micrographia. Okay, so what is the name of book that is written by Robert Hooke? That is Micrographia. Okay, the word cell comes from the Latin word cella, which means small rooms. Okay, so Robert Hooke called these small boxes cell because they reminded him of small rooms called cells in which monks lived. Okay, so cells are the basic unit of all living organisms, or we can say cell are the structural, functional and biological unit of all living things. Later on, in 1674, Anton van Leeuwenhoek observed living cells in pond water. Yes, Anton van Leeuwenhoek made other important discoveries using his own microscope. Okay, so he was the first person to observe human cell and bacteria cell. Okay, after that, in 1831, Robert Brown observed nucleus in the cell. Okay, Robert Brown discovered nucleus in the cell. Okay. Later, in 1838, German scientist Matthias Schleiden observed that all plants consist of cell. Means plants are also made up of cell. In 1839, one more scientist, Schwann, he observed that all animals consist of cell. Means animals are also made up of cell. So later, between 1838 and 1839, two German biologists, Schleiden and Schwann, put forward a theory, and that theory is known as cell theory. Okay, so according to cell theory, all living things are made up of cell. As I told you, all living things, all living organisms are made up of cell. Cells are basic units of all living organisms. Means cells are the basic building blocks of all living organisms. Means they are the basic structural unit of all living organisms. Third, new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. Okay, according to this theory, new cells are formed by the division of old cell. Okay, new cells are formed from the pre-existing cell, or we can say new cells are formed by the division in the old cell. Okay, so this is the cell theory. Now our next topic is number of cells in living organism. Based on the number of cells, living organisms are grouped as unicellular and multicellular. Okay, unicellular. Uni means single and cellular means cell. So unicellular organisms are made up of only single cell, and the single cell perform all activities. Okay, so unicellular organisms are made up of single cell. For example, amoeba, paramecium, eugligna, etc. Here I made diagram of amoeba. Okay, so these organisms carry out their life processes, or we can say metabolic activities like respiration, digestion, etc. by this single cell. Okay, now next is multicellular organisms. Multi means many and cellular means cell. Okay, so multicellular organisms are made up of many cells. For example, plants, animals, human beings. So multicellular organisms carry out their metabolic activities with a specific cell. Okay, so unicellular organisms are made up of one cell, and multicellular organisms are made up of many cells.